Pessoal, sejam todos bem-vindos ao nosso programa Contrato Social Podcast. E hoje numa edição super especial em Nova York, aqui no Concordia Summit, com grandes palestrantes, mas hoje especificamente com Douglas Smith, que ele é um grande americano aqui, que trabalha com relações do private sector e com public sector. E para a gente é uma grande honra poder conversar, fazer esse bate-bola com ele aqui. Thank you, Douglas. We have our audience from Brazil. Our viewers are students, lawyers, entrepreneurs, and we have some questions for you. Could you tell us your journey through since your beginning into the public service leading up to the appointment with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, as well as your private sector journey?
Sure. Well, first of all, welcome to New York. Welcome to America. It's always so wonderful to visit you and your family in Brazil. So it's great to host you here. So my journey probably started before I was born. My parents both worked for President John F. Kennedy.
Wow.
And so the sense of public service was in my DNA, if you will. So at the youngest age, I sort of became involved in public policy, et cetera, and ultimately began to work for President Clinton in 1992. And that sort of started my journey in public service, rising up to be the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security at the Department of Homeland Security, which was a job that entitled me to, among other things, travel to Brazil, which was my sort of first exposure to it. I went down there on amazing delegations and negotiate around some financial treaties with your government.
Wow.
But what my job was to work with businesses all over the world to figure out that intersection between public and private partnerships. So as you try to solve these challenges in Brazil, what you're doing, there's a tremendous synergy with that you need government on one side, but you also need the expertise of the private sector.
Douglas, could you tell us, to our viewers, what was your greatest challenge at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security?
I don't even know where to begin. There were so many challenges. We like to call ourselves sort of the bad news agency. When DHS shows up, it's because there was an earthquake, there was a terrorist attack, there's a shooting at a school. But I think probably the biggest challenge, sort of on a day in and day out basis, was building trust between government and the private sector. That the private sector knew they could call us and we would help them, that we weren't there to necessarily investigate them, we were there to find solutions together. And I think that was the biggest mission that I worked on.
Douglas, in your opinion now here in Concordia Summit, what is your opinion of this year's summit in New York City?
I think these summits are so important for bringing people together to not just talk about big ideas, but to find solutions. And I know for you back in Brazil, as Brazilians look at climate change and how to preserve the environment, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and there is this real concern among children of just fear of the world that we're leaving behind them. And so I think summits like this are so important of bringing global leaders like yourself together with experts in the space to find actionable solutions that you can do today.
Douglas, you went to Brazil last year.
Yes.
What do you think of Brazil, Brasilia, and São Paulo? This is one question. Second question, next year in Brazil we will have the COP30 in Belém do Pará. And what are your expectations?
Well, first of all, for anyone who's going to Brazil, I'm only going with you as my tour guide. You and your family were the most spectacular hosts. I'm still dreaming about the mortadella sandwich at your market. I think it was fascinating to see, because it's easy in America to pass judgments on how everybody else is doing stuff. But it was really heartening to see that the Brazilians are, as we say in America, taking the bull by the horns and really trying to find their own solutions. I think for the upcoming summit there next year, it's a country that is growing so rapidly. It is at this exciting time of kind of what we like to call it, sort of building the plane as you fly it. So I have high hopes that with President Lula's leadership and the commitment to the government and the private sector there to find workable solutions for your children, for my children, that hope is around the corner.
Douglas, our last question here at our podcast. What are your last considerations and message do you want to send to the Brazilians?
Oh, wow. I think the most important one is the globe has become smaller and smaller, and we truly are a sort of global village. And that term gets thrown around a lot, but it is so easy. When you leave here and like that, you're on a plane and you're back, we're all so connected. So what I would say to the people of Brazil is we're all in it together. That preserving the environment, working to help impoverished people in Brazil, is just as important there as it is in America. And that collaboration is what's key. And that what I would like to say is that, a term civility is not dead. And that if we can all be polite and work together, it's the only way we're going to solve these incredibly challenging solutions.
Pessoal, quero aqui agradecer a presença de vocês até esse presente momento, agradecer Douglas Smith pela grande explicação e toda a sua trajetória, como sua carreira brilhante no US Department. And thank you, Doug, for this podcast.